Okay, world. What's up, guys? Listen, I've heard talks and talks about Giannis Antetokounmpo, star forward for the Milwaukee Bucks, who's been in the league for 7 seasons, 4 of them being an All-Star, and every year ever since 2016, 2017, he's progressed. Star as an All-Star, the leader for the Milwaukee Bucks. He played alongside Jason Kidd as the coach for a few seasons, and then now I got Mike Budenholzer. Giannis Antetokounmpo has switched over from the small forward position to the power forward, and it's been successful for the group and the team. Now they're in a peculiar situation. Giannis has 1 year left of his contract, and it kind of shifts things with the organization with the Bucks. Do they trade Giannis before the All-Star break? Do they decide just to put their eggs in the basket and look to re-sign him in the 2021 free agency? Or do they try to find a commitment for him so he can sign the max extension pretty soon before it comes to here? Ever since the Milwaukee Bucks lost to the Toronto Raptors in 2019, and then this season they lost to the Miami Heat, people pretty much been questioning Giannis Antetokounmpo, see if he can get it done with by taking his team to the championship, let alone win the championship. So if you're the Bucks organization, they're in a weird mess right now. They can look to trade for a Chris Paul on their team, possibly a Bradley Beal. They are in looks of letting go of Chris Middleton, or let alone there's been questions arising of trading away star player Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're going to jump here on ESPN on The Jump and pretty much, kick it in with Mr. Paul Pierce, Zach McManaman, and the crew, Dave McManaman, and we can pretty much kind of figure how things cover. And of course, I'll give my take.
2008 Finals MVP Paul Pierce and senior writer, the Hall of Famer, the GOAT, Jackie Mack. Coming up, 2020 Coach of the Year and 2019 NBA champion Nick Nurse stops by to discuss all things Raptors and his new book, which is now in stores. But first, it's almost decision time for MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. He certainly will be offered a Supermax extension by the Bucks this offseason, and his decision to sign it or not will be one of the most interesting storylines to follow. So, Paul, we'll take a look at some of the projected contract figures here. There's a lot of coin there. But do you believe Giannis should sign the Supermax?
Giannis is in a weird situation. He's a weird type of cat. We've seen our receipts from him by his quotes. Pretty much he wants to be like a Kobe mentality type player, a Jordan. We've seen he likes to go after different competition. He doesn't like to play the buddy-buddy AAU type of friend-to-friend player like in the NBA with LeBron James. Kind of started that establishment further out in the 2010s. But with Giannis Antetokounmpo, he likes to play solo dolo, train by himself, and go after these cats. He's got that different type of breed. And this is something, if you're a 90s fan, you really appreciate Giannis bringing this back into the league. I can't see him, but based on his DNA and his actions, to buddy and team up on a group of all-stars combining together. Now, I could see him leading to leave towards to the Miami Heat. That was always in question before the playoffs and during the regular season, to join Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley. But if you're the Miami Heat, I doubt they're going to make a trade for him. I think they would rather just wait towards the 2021 free agency, as they just did make their finals appearance with young cats with Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson. You had none out there who played very well for their team and who can handle the next future and bright stages when it comes to it. For Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo, this is a weird situation for him, but after he lost towards the Heat, he did state in a post-game interview that he would like to continue his career and try to win championships with the Milwaukee Bucks. I know it's in his heart. I understand that's also a political answer, but when push comes to shove, when you have not made a finals appearance and your agent and NBA fans are pretty much hollering for you to leave and jump ship, I actually will expect Giannis Antetokounmpo to be like a LeBron James, Kevin Durant type player, Dwight Howard, etc., and look towards a bigger market. Either if that's being for the Miami Heat, the Dallas Mavericks, the Golden State Warriors. Those are all into play in question, but this really comes down to the Milwaukee Bucks. What type of move do they make before entering the 21 season? How serious is Giannis going to take management if they can't make moves or they can? So, of course, Giannis is not going to sign the 5-year max anytime soon. He wants to see how the Milwaukee management, if they're serious enough to actually make a championship-type team surrounding, of course, with him, I actually expect him to test his free agency rights, and that's going to be determined.
Listen, the Supermax is 200 and what? Man, without question, you play all your life to get to this point so you can secure that type of money for generations of your family. Yes, you do it. At first, I know he's competitive. He wants to win a championship, but the championship is not guaranteed, ladies and gentlemen. You can say, I'm going to go here, sign for less, for a chance to win a championship and never win. But this guaranteed contract in your face, $221 million, that's guaranteed right there. You got to take that.
Jackie?
That's a very interesting approach, and I understand where you're coming from 100%. But if I'm Giannis, I've been loyal to the Milwaukee Bucks. I've told them I intend on being with them, but I also have one more year before I have to make this seismic decision. Now, I understand the danger of injury. That's something that hangs over all players' heads, and Paul can speak to that, of course, much better than I can. But if I'm Giannis, I'm keeping all my options open. And I'm going to do my very best to win a championship for the Bucks again next season. And then I'm going to make the biggest decision of my life.
Yeah, when it comes to Giannis, he's not going to sign his Supermax before the 2021 season. He's going to enter the 2020 season with a monkey on his back. He's got to reach the NBA Finals. I do not think that's going to be the case. I think most likely they're either going to make a trade for a Chris Paul. I think that's the best move they have to make for their franchise and their team. I don't see any other all-star player that they can make a legitimate trade for. I don't think they have enough assets for a Bradley Beal, nor will they include all those draft picks if they do lose Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo. So they're in a very weird spot if you're the Milwaukee Bucks as of right now. When it comes to Giannis, I could see him staying with the Bucks, but then again, he's going to be around 26 years of age. He's going to have 2 regular season MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year award, and 0 finals appearances. The Brooklyn Nets are taking over the Eastern Conference. This is going to be Kevin Durant's era back in the East, or now in the Eastern Conference, being the number 1 option again. So I expect Kevin Durant and Kyrie to make at least 1 to 2 NBA Finals appearances. I do not know if that's going to be for next season. That's going to be determined. I think most likely the Boston Celtics will be coming out of the Eastern Conference as of right now. I think Brooklyn, if it's not this season, then for sure for 2022. But if you're the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo, you could not even get past over the Miami Heat. And you have the Celtics out there. You have a rejuvenated, going to be a retooled Philadelphia 76ers. You got the Toronto Raptors. Let's see if they retool or rebuild or blow it up. Again, the Miami Heat's still in that picture as well. You got a bunch of other teams in the East. The Brooklyn Nets are now coming into the picture. The Indiana Pacers retooling. So if you're the Bucks, you need another scorer out there. You really need to retool to bring in another star player. I think the best case should be Chris Paul. I've been stating this for the past couple of months, even before they throw out that trade proposal rumor. If you're Chris Paul, you got around a year or 2 left of your contract. You're demanding a championship. You're needing to go to a championship contender. I think when it comes to Giannis's and Chris Paul's timeline, they're both there for one last season. They're demanding a chip. This is pretty much going to be championship or bust. And if you're the Bucks organization, you pretty much know how this is going to go and how it's going to be. So ride it out how it is, but let's kind of kick it a little more here.
I'm with you, Jackie. Like, granted, injury is always a factor here, but you bet on yourself to this point, right? Like, I feel like you need to continue betting on yourself. And, Paul, championships aren't guaranteed, but neither is his talent. And I don't think that anyone should.
Real quickly, like I said before, Giannis is a type of player in a cat, his DNA and how he is, to where I could see him staying with the Milwaukee Bucks after, let's just say, they lose in the conference finals this season. I do not believe he's going to take the Supermax before the season or during. I think after the season, I think he'll meet with a couple franchises. I have a feeling that he would stay with the Bucks. I feel like he's more of like a Damian Lillard type, to where he would just pretty much get paid, stay in one city, stay loyal, and try to win one championship, if anything, building and surrounding everything towards him. Now, how this is different is Damian Lillard is usually around the 8th towards the 10th best player in the world. Giannis has always been top 3, top 5. And pretty much the media and everyone's going to treat him like a young KD or a young LeBron James. No one ever did that for Damian Lillard. And Giannis could really change the league. So everyone in the media, his agent's going to push for him to leave Milwaukee to go to a bigger market like Miami, Golden State, or Dallas, possibly even Chicago, New York. I doubt the case on that. But when it comes to his DNA, I think Giannis. I would not surprise me if Giannis Antetokounmpo were to stay with the Bucks after this season when he enters free agency. I don't see him going to Golden State to form a quote-unquote super team. He already knew what happened with Kevin Durant. The only two other franchises that make sense for him to leave and go to are either the Miami Heat or the Dallas Mavericks. I do not believe the Philadelphia 76ers would be in the equation based on how he plays. But when it comes down to the Heat or the Mavericks, if he were to go to the Heat, he would stay in the Eastern Conference. He would join a franchise that just made it to the NBA Finals, and they need another star player. I think that would be ideal for him for, pretty much in 2022 and in the future. You do have Pat Riley. He needs to join a team that has a bunch of veterans and a championship culture. I think Miami's a great position for him. He would have to take a pay cut, and I believe he would do so. If he goes to the Dallas Mavericks, it's a little iffy because who's going to be the star player, him or Luka? Are you really going to defer to Luka? Maybe he puts his pride and ego to the side, and he joins Luka and KP in Dallas. Now, that team would be a mini dynasty. They would win at least 2 championships over in Dallas. But I think legitimately, if he were to leave, it would have to go to the Miami Heat. They make the most sense for him in his career. But it really comes down to, does he want to leave and try to win championships and have a new culture, new setting, new journey? Or does he want to stay put, be the brand, be the face, be the name of a loyal city in Milwaukee, and pretty much take the Damian Lillard approach? We'll see.
Take that for granted. He's still a player who's growing. He's still a player who can get better, and he's already a 2-time MVP. So I think if you're him, you've got kind of the deck stacked in your favor. So you should be putting pressure on the Milwaukee Bucks and that organization to surround you with the best talent possible.
Well, they're going to try to do that anyway. I mean, come on. We got a generational talent. They're going to try to get better. But like I said, 220.
But, I mean, they traded Malcolm Brogdon, Paul. I mean, that's not, to me, a team. That's a team that's looking to cut some corners a little bit. Like, if I'm Giannis, I'm not happy about that. I'm still not happy about it.
Where can he go?
Well, yeah, very simple. Again, he can either go to Dallas, Golden State, or Miami. Now, based on his DNA, Golden State is out of the picture. Dallas is a little iffy here or there because you do have a dynamic duo in Luka and KP. So he may not feel really as needed, and he would have to defer a lot. But if he were joining the Heat, he will not have to defer that much whatsoever, and he can still be the MVP and star player on that franchise in that team. I don't really see any other markets. He's not going to Atlanta. He's not going to join a young team that does not know how to win. He's not going to Chicago, same situation. New York's a mess. So I think pretty much at the end of the day, it's either coming down to Miami or let alone it's going to go down to Milwaukee. I would love to see him go to Dallas. Don't get me wrong, but I just can't foresee it to be. I think that's like 55%. Actually, not 55. That's probably like a 35% chance. But I think it really depends on his roster in Milwaukee. I really got to see the roster changes and improvement of how the organization is going to make any trades and retool. Because if they bring in a Chris Paul, that's pretty much going to be championship or bust. If they could pull off a Bradley Beal trade, I could really see, Giannis would just stay because he has his second star player. And I think that's an ideal fit for him. Someone who could handle the ball, who can pretty much give you 30 a night, who can hit it in the clutch, who can pretty much go out there and just score at will. Middleton has to be a third option, not a second. But if you're Giannis, this is actually kind of scary because the Lakers are pretty much going to dominate the Western Conference. Same thing with the Golden State Warriors. And in the East, it's going to be a bloodbath out there. And Giannis right now, mentally, I do not know where he's at after losing to the Miami Heat in a gentleman's sweep.
Where can he really go and guarantee a championship? I mean, come on.
I mean, as a free agent, Jackie, I'm sure there's a number of spots, right?
Yeah, again, if he goes to the Mavericks, they probably won't win the championship that season, but they'll rack up around 2 chips in 3 seasons. If he goes to the Miami Heat, they can rack up 2 championships in 4 seasons, something along those lines. Maybe even only 1 championship. If he goes to the Warriors, they're going to win at least They're going to win 2 championships in 3 years, kind of like KD.
Yeah, let's start with the Miami Heat. And, I think everything that Giannis decides has an effect on every other team in the league. For instance, Bam Adebayo is up for a very lucrative extension in Miami, and I'm sure they're going to take care of him. But let's talk about some other these free agents. Are the Miami Heat going to go out and get them this year, or are they going to save all their money and all their cap space for next year when they have a shot at Giannis?
Well,
oh, for sure. You're the Miami Heat. You're pretty much for this season. You're not going to sign any big deal contracts like Gallinari. You're not going to sign him to a big deal. Max number of years. You're going to sign 1-year deals if you're the Miami Heat. You're pretty much going to bring back 80% of the team. Udonis Haslem may just retire, but you're going to keep your same core. If you're going to re-sign Goran Dragic, you're probably going to do that for a 1-year deal. Ideally, in the market, he can get paid somewhere else for bigger long-term, but if he likes it in Miami, if he understands Pat Riley wants to get Giannis, he'll take that 1-year deal. Same thing with these other cats and players. The Heat are preparing 2021 for Giannis and free agency. They know they're number one.
What I can say is, and I'm not reporting anything, so don't aggregate me. What I can say is, knowing the history of one Patrick Riley, he likes to go big or go home. So my assumption is he will find a way to remain as competitive as they were this past season, while also keeping that cap space for the big whale in someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo. All right, so as the reigning MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year, players like Giannis don't come around too often, as we've discussed. So, Jackie, our Tim Bontemps reports that the Bucks don't plan to trade Giannis even if he doesn't sign the extension. Is that something they should consider, though?
No, great move for the Bucks. If he does not sign the extension early in the season, I would actually expect that not to be the case, that he would not sign it. Just like any free agent, they like to test their worth. This may be, and probably is the only time, this is the max value they'll get to being the number one in the spotlight as a free agent. You're pretty much like The Bachelor. You're on tour, man. Everyone's got their eyes on you. The media, they want to know about your decision. You're gonna get cuddled and catered if you're gonna visit the Knicks, the Bulls, Sixers, the Heat, Mavericks, Warriors, and that's pretty much ideal when it comes to it. If you're the agent, you want Giannis to test free agency, even if you know he's gonna re-sign with the Bucks. Doesn't matter. You're gonna test free agency. That's the way it goes. If you're the Bucks, you do not make a trade for Giannis. Even if you lose out to him in free agency, you do not make a trade for him before that. Only if Giannis gives you a verbal that he wants to have a sign and trade somewhere else, or he's not going to re-sign, then that's when you trade him. Kind of like Anthony Davis. He told the team in advance, the Pelicans, halfway through the season, trade me to LA. That's the only place I'm going to sign. So they made the deal. They got Zion Williamson, the young cats. They're good. If you're Giannis Antetokounmpo, if you do the same thing with the Heat, then you orchestrate a trade with the Heat for Giannis. If Giannis says nothing and he wants to test free agency, you do not make a trade for him. You do not take that risk. Even if you get nothing for him, that's the way how it goes. But you should feel pretty good if you're the Bucks. So after Giannis's DNA, pretty much how he's like. He likes to stay loyal based on what we've seen. He's not like these other AAU cats. And basically for Giannis Antetokounmpo, after he lost to the Heat, he pretty much said he wants to stay here and win championships. So you should feel pretty good if you're the Bucks right now. But organization, you got to do your part. You got to give him a star. You got to go after Bradley Beal, CP3, something.
I wouldn't, and I think Tim's reporting spot on here. I think that ownership group says, okay, if he doesn't sign that Supermax extension, we've got to make our team different. We've got to make it better. We need to exploit the pick and roll better. We need to go out and get personnel that will help us do that. We need to get players that will space the floor. That's why you keep hearing Chris Paul's name associated with the Milwaukee Bucks, because he really would help them in many of those things I just discussed. Not to mention that he's still one of the top defenders in the league, even at his age. So I think the Bucks, if he doesn't sign it...
Chris Paul's very ideal for them. I've always stated Chris Middleton needs to be a third option. Chris Paul always needs to be a second option for a championship contender, and Giannis can be your first. So that fits perfectly well. CP3 is the floor general. He can pretty much be the veteran that they need, a championship-desiring type player. And Giannis can really feed off of Chris Paul. And Chris Middleton being the third option, it's going to become very comfortable. You can retool a team around those three players for sure.
Giannis doesn't sign it, and I don't believe that he will. I think you're going to see them go out and make a big deal.
Yeah, I'm in the same
Your decision matters to them. John Cornyn is a brighter future, a stronger economy, more money for your family, and you control their healthcare, not the government. Your decision matters.
I'm in the same lane as Jackie. I mean, you don't trade a generational talent like that. You try to work it out. You try to get better internally or through trade, and just play your cards and see what happens. You know, who knows? What if they win a championship that year? I believe he signs a long-term deal.
Right.
Even if they.
Yeah, if the Bucks were to trade him before the season or mid-season, if Giannis hasn't said a word, that makes him look desperate. It makes him look like a simp out there, and it makes them look very self-conscious about themselves. It's embarrassing if that were to happen. But yeah, Giannis is in a good class. He's around 25, 26, won back-to-back MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year award. He needs to work on his jumper, but besides that, you want to hold on to him like Cleveland would want to hold on to LeBron.
They'll have the summer. Maybe they can search for a sign and trade if he says I'm not coming back. But there's no way I'm moving early on this if he doesn't sign an extension.
All right, well, we're going to wrap it over here. I think Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo will not re-sign the extension before the season or during it. I expect there's going to be a lot of rumors, and the media is going to be jumping on him all season like they did in 2018 to Mr. Kevin Durant, or actually 2019 to Mr. Kevin Durant, and LeBron James back into the 2010 NBA season. So with Giannis, all eyes on him. And actually the same thing with Kawhi Leonard last season, but all eyes on Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is your shine to be a star free agent, as it's going to be in your legacy. When push comes to shove, I got to see what the roster looks like during the 2021 season. And that pretty much giving my prediction to determine if he's going to re-sign